Hi guys, in this video today we are going to take a deep dive into building and playing chords on the Maschine Plus like a pro. Let's get into it. First things first, happy Valentine's Day. Okay, so the Maschine Plus is its very own instrument. So learning some patterns will help you tremendously when it comes to creating these chord progressions. Now, this is not a music theory video, so I won't be going deep into that, but I will mention a little just to help me describe the patterns. So first we're going to go to keyboard mode, and by default, you'll see the scale bank here and the type here. So you'll have a list of different options in each bank. So in the main bank, we have chromatic, major, minor, harmonic, minor. And then you have the modes, which will give you all the different modes here. Jazz, all the different jazz scales here. But we are going to focus mainly on chromatic, major, and minor for this video. When you pick a scale, you'll see the notes pop up in the right dialog here. Chromatic looks like this, major looks like this. And then you can also see that there are some notes that are brighter than others. And that's because the brightly lit notes represent the core tone. It represents the octaves. So this note, and this note are all C. They're the same note. So that'll give you a little guidance on if you're playing a regular chord, you know where the octave is. Or if you want to make an inversion, instead of playing it this way, you can play. So I think that learning the octaves are really important when it comes down to playing the keyboard. If you would like to change your scale, you can simply do that by clicking down a semitone or clicking up a semitone. It says root note here, D, E flat, E, F. That's a way for you to change your key. But we're going to stay in C for this video. Let's start with the major scale. From the bottom left pad, we have the lowest note of these 16 pads, and the highest note is at the top right. So now let's talk about chord shapes. In a major scale, a major triad makes an L shape, and that L shape can be moved around these 16 pads. So let's make our first triad, starting with C. In order to create a triad, we need a first, which will be the root note, a third, which will be the third note of the scale. So here we would skip over the second note and go to the third. And then we need a fifth, which is the fifth note of the scale. So we'll skip the fourth note and go to the fifth note here. And this is the first triad. So that's the first chord of the C major scale. But we can move this over to the next chord. D is the second note in the C major scale. So we can go from here. And this is the D chord of the C major scale. D, F, A. But when we go to the third note, we run out of pads here. So we're going to play our first note here, skip one pad, play the second note, skip one pad, play the third note. And that's our new L shape. And then just move it over. So as you can see, you can move this L shape around to play different diatonic chords to the key. This makes it super easy to make chord progressions. So we can go from the 1 to the 3 to the 4, back to the 1. You can also easily do inversions. And to make an inversion of a chord, all we have to do is move our lowest note of the chord to its octave. So for the L shapes located on the first column, all we have to do is move our lowest note to its octave. And its octave is always located diagonally to the third note of the chord. C, E, G. This is the third note of the chord. And this is the octave diagonally. So here the C chord from the root inversion to the second inversion. The G chord from the root inversion to the second inversion. And the D chord from the root inversion to the second inversion. Now that was just for the L shape on the first column, which are these. For the L shape located on the second column, the octave will always be located diagonally to the left of the fifth note. On the L shape on the second column, 1, 3, 5. This is the fifth note, and diagonally to the left is the octave here. So this is the first inversion. Root inversion, first inversion. A chord, root inversion, first inversion. E chord, root inversion, first inversion. Okay, we don't have enough space for that. But even though we can't make that inversion, we could still make another inversion. It just wouldn't be the first inversion. But you can do this as well. Okay, we have the first column covered. And then we have the second column covered. Now, what about these ones that are upside down? For both of these L shapes, the octave is located diagonally left of the fifth note in this major scale. So, E, G, B, this is the fifth, and that's the octave. So, let's take a look at that again. All right, and the same for this one. You see here, this is the fifth, diagonally left. So the triads look like this. All right, so that's it for the major triads. Now let's take a look at sus chords. Sus chords are those cool chords that make you feel like the chord wants to go somewhere, but not sure if they want to go home or stay in the city. Let's take a look at that. Sus chords consist of the first note, the second note, and the fifth note of the scale. And it makes these cool Tetris looking blocks. So let me show you how it looks. So the first note, second note, and then the fifth note. So how we come to this is we start with a major triad, which is the first, third, and fifth. And then we just simply drop our third to the second. So this is how it looks. And to me, that looks like a little Tetris block, you know? C, D, E. And then you can move this pattern over. This is a sus. And then in the same sense, we can do sus4 chords, which also do not have a third. But instead of moving the third down to a 2, we're going to be moving the third up to a 4. It'll go like this. Major triad, 4. Major triad, sus2. I really like those because it's like with the major chords, you know exactly, oh, this is a major, you know? But with the sus chords, you can't really tell, you know? What are we doing? What's happening right now? Where we going? Are you chilling? Or are we just vibing? I don't know. I like it. So now let's dive into the major 7th chords. We have 2 shapes here. The first shape is like a rectangular. You start off with the major triad that we already created. So 1, 3, 5. And then we add the 7th note. So this is the 5. We skip the 6 and add the 7. So 1, 3, 5, 7. And then we can move that over. Now the second pattern is kind of like a quadrilateral shape, maybe. So it goes like this. 1, 3, 5, 7. You can move that here too. All right. So for the notes for the diatonic scale, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now you have the formula to making some cool jazzy 7 chords. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And we can also do inversions of these as well. It's a really cool way to start creating different voicings. So let's give it a go. Okay, so we start off like this. And our octave, our bright pad is located right next to our B. So all we have to do is slide over. All right. And from here, we want to move our lowest note up. So we're going to move the E. We're going to move our lowest note, which is the G. We're going to move that up to here. So that is so pretty, right? Move the B up to the next B. And move the C up to. And then if we drop this octave, ooh. Yeah, that is beautiful. So what about ninth chords? Do we have that option here as well? Yes, we do. So all we need to do is add the ninth to the seventh that we already created. And I think that this kind of looks like a seat, a chair. So let me show you. 1, 3, 5, 7, skip 1, 9. Okay, so this is the ninth major chord. You can move it over here. And it's almost like how the major triad was, where we had a L and then we had an upside down L. So flip this chair around. We got this, and then we got this. But then when we go to the third note of the scale, we have to flip it. All right, it sounds like this. So you can get really creative with this, play around, add melodies, do chords at the same time. It's pretty cool once you get these patterns under your fingers. Definitely play around and get into creating some inversions. So let me show you this. All right, so we start off like this. We're gonna move this C up to here. All right, and let's move the E up to the next E. Now let's move the G up from here to here. Move the B up. Woo wee! Hold up. Let's drop that. Ooh. That is so pretty. And then we can move the C up to here. Yeah. You can play some really nice stuff on here. All right, let's take a look at the minor side. even though we're in the minor type here, everything that we just learned in the major still applies to the minor because you still have some of the same characteristics. You need a first, a third, and a fifth. So for the minor, C. Then you got the D. Then the E, E flat. Then the F. And you just carry on the same way. Minor 7. Let me take it up. All right, minor 9th. And then we have the sus. Yo, this is so beautiful. I love actually playing the chords in keyboard mode instead of going to chord mode and using already made chords. It's great. I love it. But I also love to play the notes on my own and make up my own chord progression because in the chord modes, you're still kind of limited to the type of chords you can make. So I think it's really dope to get these patterns under your fingers and then you could just fluently move around, you know? And then once you see the patterns, it's almost like, okay, I see this chair. I see the L. I see this Tetris block, you know? But let's keep in mind that this is the simple, quick, easy way to get into it because the patterns are so movable. It's kind of like playing the guitar. You could just move the same pattern around to play different chords on the neck. However, this system is kind of limited because let's say you want to have major and minor chords in your chord progression. You're going to have to switch between major, play the major chords, and then switch to minor, play the minor chords. Whereas if you were to be in, let's say, chromatic, where you have all of the notes laid out, you could just play the major and minor chords together. So again, using these chord types like major and minor, it's a good way to get started and a quick way to get into it. But the chromatic mode could help you really learn the music theory behind it and help you express yourself through your music the way that you're hearing it in your head. I think both ways are pretty dope and both ways have their limitations because if you take a look at this chromatic window from the major and the minor, we have 3 octaves here. But on the chromatic, we only have 1 octave. Because once we get here, we only have 3 more notes. So basically, it's just 1 octave here. So you're pretty much in a position where you can only play in 1 octave. However, you could, let's say, play a chord, drop the octave, and then come in and do something else here. So, you know, it's all about how you want to go about the workflow. But there are some advantages and disadvantages to both. All right, so let's take a look into the chromatic scale. In a chromatic scale, you will see every note that exists in the key that you choose. So I'm still in C, and this is what we have here. So now let's go back into the major triad, which we already know the formula for making a triad is the 1, the 3, and the 5. So let's find that here. So first we start with C, and then you want to go 4 half notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now you're on your 3rd note of the scale. And then in order to get to the fifth, you want to go 3 half notes. 1, 2, 3. And so this is our major triad. And in order to create a minor triad, you start with the major and you go down a half step. Instead of playing C, E, G, we're going to play C, E flat, G. Now let's say you wanted to do a sus4. We remember that in order to get a sus4, we raise our third note of the scale to the fourth. So we have C, E, G. And all we need to do is raise our third note. And so we have, all right, sus, major, minor. And if you wanted to do the sus2, instead of C, E, G, we would drop that third to the 2. So this is the sus2. This is the sus4. This is the major triad. And this is the minor triad. And where is our major 7th? So we have the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th. And all we have to do is add the 7th. So we count up 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's our major 7th. All right, and one last chord is the dominant 7 chord, which is basically a 7th chord, but a flattened 7. So the 7th note would be dropped a half a step. So this is what it sounds like. All right, so let's say you want to use that in a chord progression. You can use that as like a passing note or just something cool to get you to a different key or something like that. So, all right. Okay, so another thing I want to mention about the chromatic type is that if you look at the bottom 4 notes, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, it's the same at the very top, C, C sharp, D, D sharp. So when you go in and you start making inversions, just remember that for all the notes that you use on the bottom, you can invert it with the notes on the top. So for something like this, you can also do, and the same for okay. And what if we had something like this? We can change this C to this one and this D to this one, this D sharp to this one. So it'll be like, so you guys can get really creative with this. And hey, if you are new to the Maschine Plus, you just got it for Christmas, or you've been had it and it's just sitting around, and you need a step-by-step guide on how to get started, how to build your tracks, how to finish your tracks, check out my course. I have a link in the description for the ultimate beginner's guide to the Maschine Plus. Also, down in the comment section, let me know if you guys are using the Maschine Plus this way already. And if you have different tips that you want to share, please put them in the comment section, and I'm sure it'll help somebody out. And one last thing, I will be giving away the Maschine Micro MK3. If you are interested in this piece of equipment right here, it is simple and easy to qualify for this giveaway. First, like and share the video, and then comment below, fire emoji, I love it, I want it. And that's it. You are entered into the giveaway. I will be picking one person in 2 weeks on February the 28th, and I will announce it on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you, all the love and support that I've been getting on this channel. I am so grateful, and I thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so that's all for today. Peace.